Hello, everyone. Welcome to my what if video on if James Potter had survived. The first thing we need to establish on a video like this is how would James had survived the encounter that night, and this is how I see that going. On the night in Godric's Hollow, Voldemort comes to the Potter's home. James managed to get Harry and Lily upstairs before he realizes that he left his wand downstairs. He rushes to get his one, but is met by Voldemort on the stairs. Voldemort, not wanting to waste any time, immediately casts the killing curse at him. In this scenario, however, though, he was actually able to dodge it by leaping off the stairs over the banister. Unfortunately, he did land on his head when doing it so and knocked himself out. Voldemort, in a hurry, would just simply glance over, see James laying motionless on the floor with blood pooling from his head, assuming that he's dead and wanting to move quickly before Dumbledore, members of the Order of the Phoenix, or Aurors were to show up to stop him. And from this point, things would proceed from canon. He would enter the room where Lily and Harry were hiding. And like in canon, Lily would refuse to move out of the way, so Voldemort would, of course, use the killing curse on her before turning his wand on Harry, where then the curse would rebound on him and he would become disembodied. It would be at this point that several minutes later, James would wake up to see Severus Snape sitting in the rubble holding Lily's body, crying over it. James would pick himself up, approaching Snape and asking, "Severus, what has happened?" Snape, looking up, would respond in tears, "It's all my fault. She's dead because of me. I was the one that told the Dark Lord of the prophecy." James would then at this point move to pick Harry up and tell Snape to go find Dumbledore and tell him everything that had happened at this point. Snape would stand, nod, and apparate away. Shortly after is when Hagrid and Sirius Black would show up. At this point, James would explain to both of them what happened. Hagrid, through his own tears, would say that Dumbledore has sent him to bring them back to Hogwarts with him. The three of them and Harry would then proceed to Hogwarts, arriving just as Snape was leaving Dumbledore's office. Sirius would want to move in to take Snape's head off, but he would at that point be stopped by James. They would enter Dumbledore's office, where James would once again explain the details of what happened to Dumbledore. Dumbledore would, of course, be able to figure out what had happened and know that Voldemort at some point would return. Explaining this to them, Dumbledore would also come up with a plan to keep Harry as safe as possible by wanting to spread the news that it was in fact James who managed to defeat the Dark Lord once and for all. And also making everybody who knew of the true events of that night swear to keep it a secret. As their meeting would come to an end, James would turn and ask Sirius to watch Harry while he went and told Lily's sister what had happened. Sirius, of course, would say, "Of course I will. Also, you and Harry are welcome to come stay with me for as long as you want." James would thank Sirius before turning back to Dumbledore and asking, "What of Peter? He was the one who gave us up." Dumbledore's eyes would narrow, as he would say, "Do not worry about that. I am about to go to the Ministry of Magic and to Fudge myself, and I will personally see to it that he is arrested and sent to Azkaban for his part in this." James would then go to the Dursleys' home to tell Petunia about her sister. At first, the Dursleys would be very apprehensive towards James, but after hearing what he had to say, Petunia would excuse herself from the room so that the others wouldn't see her crying. Vernon, still looking down upon James, would back off some and offer him a seat and a drink. When Petunia did come back, James would give them more detail on what happened and caution them to be careful, as there could still be Death Eaters lurking around. James would then go back to Sirius Black's house, where he would find Harry sleeping in the bed. After seeing Harry sleeping soundly in the bed in the guest room at Sirius Black's house, James would at this point allow himself to start breaking down and crying himself, where Sirius would grab him and lead him to the living room so as not to disturb Harry while he slept, and also where Remus Lupin would also be waiting for them. The three of them would have a stiff drink together while Sirius and Lupin attempted to comfort and talk James down. At this point, we're going to go ahead and have a 11-year time skip where James has been given a position as an Auror due to his actual skill, power, and intelligence, and the fact that he is at this point known as the wizard who defeated Voldemort. He would quickly work his way up in through the department, becoming the head of the Aurors. With his time working for the Ministry of Magic, he would actually meet and befriend Arthur Weasley. The two of them would actually introduce their sons to each other, who would become friends real quickly, growing up together. And I think that Harry would also grow up to have a very similar personality to the one that he had in the actual canon, due to learning to be more kind and humble with his relationships through the Weasleys and with Remus Lupin, but also having that wild side granted to him through his relationship with his godfather, Sirius Black, and James kind of being somewhere in the middle of all that. Um, and of course, I also think he would have more of a love for magical creatures growing up, because Hagrid would want to be more of a part of Harry's life where he was there that night. And James, of course, having great respect for Hagrid, would have no issue with that. So Hagrid would make trips to town to hang out with Harry and tell him about all the magical creatures. James would also, I think, want to help support the Weasleys financially, knowing that they're about their financial burdens, but Arthur would, of course, turn it down. And James, having great respect for Arthur, would respect his wishes, but make him promise to come to him if he ever did need any financial aid. Also, of course, Harry, growing up with the Weasley children, would play Quidditch with them on the Weasley's field, well, further developing his skills on a broom and becoming an even better. Molly, having, just like in canon, absolutely fallen in love with Harry, and seeing that he himself did not have a mother, would try to take on a more motherly role with him, with Arthur Weasley becoming like another uncle to him. And it's at this point we're going to call it. Be sure to check in for part 2 when we start strolling down Diagon Alley.